Hello, welcome to another SCLC Today. I'm so happy to be here with you and just thank God for another day, another year. Hope you had a nice holiday, Christmas, and will engage upon and encounter a very prosperous new year with new relationships, better than the old relationships, coming together. Let's get something done. Speaking of relationships, have you noticed we don't have a Speaker of the House yet? My, these are the people representing our government. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? People must come together and collaborate. Congressman Kevin McCarthy has been denied how many times? Astronomically, last I counted was 10. I refuse to count again, over and over again. This haven't happened in over 100 years to this degree. And ladies and gentlemen, speaking of 100 years, the first of this month, 160 years of the Emancipation Proclamation. Hello? Many of us didn't realize that Abraham Lincoln did an executive order in terms of the Emancipation Proclamation. You know, it just amazes me. And people saying that the president office is not that powerful. He got to have Congress. No, he has to have courage. Do you know Abraham Lincoln got criticized and was told that he couldn't do the Emancipation Proclamation 160 years ago? But he did it. Yes, he did it. And he was successful. You're going to get criticized anytime you stand for what's right. Why do you say that, Steele? I'm saying you can overlaps that. You can expand that upon 160 years and relate it to today. Why we're not having some of these executive orders by our presidents in terms of justice and equality and freedom for all God's children? Of course, it was ratified in 1865 in terms of Congress and to the public. You have to have 3/4 of the states that were ratified. Ladies and gentlemen, anytime you stand for what's right, then you have an opportunity to get justice. See, right now, we just have a legal system. We don't have a system of justice. But you got to have courageous leaders. Our leaders must stand up. So for whatever reason, President Abraham Lincoln envisioned and did what he did by an executive order 160 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, that is something to be applauded. And I applaud that effort. It was done with an executive order. And people said it couldn't be done. But he didn't listen to the critics. And then it was ratified. After 1863, it was ratified in 1865. And I'm here to tell you that the Emancipation Proclamation should be ratified again. We need a new Emancipation Proclamation. But that's another subject for another story at another time. And by the way, don't forget, January, the third Monday is the federal holiday of Dr. King's birthday. But his actual birthday is January the 15th. Dr. King would have been up in age, you know, really. I go back to the Bible. He would have been right at 94 years of age. You know, I'm going back to the Bible, you know, and thinking about many a times when people became of age, biblically. You're talking about 80, 90 years of age. That's when they begin their work. Why did I say that? Because you cannot set a timetable, age-wise, to say you're going to retire, to say that you're going to stop working. That's a very good example that I know a good friend of mine who in the ministry doing his best work at 94 years of age. That's the age Dr. King would have been. Reverend Dr. E.T. Cabinets of Cleveland, Ohio, 94 years of age, working hard as our president of the Cleveland, Ohio chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And I just want to give honor to Dr. Cabinets right now at this time. We talk all the time. 94 years of age, man, that gives me some hope. And he's still the president. And one of the few people in this country, not just his state, in his country that stands tall, got courage, very courageous. Matter of fact, he's leading the fight in Cleveland in regard to Sherwin Williams. That's how the National Office got involved, because of the Reverend Dr. E.T. Cabinets, a great leader in his own right. So Dr. King's birthday is going to be celebrated, I'd say, for the whole month of January. And ladies and gentlemen, this is something that we are so proud of, because the mere fact at this office, we're just 2 blocks away from the birthplace of Dr. King. 2 blocks. Many times when I come to work, coming here on Auburn Avenue, I go around my office, and just to get the spirit of the environment and the visual contact with my eyes on that birth setting and the spirit in my heart of where Dr. King was born. And you can't forget about Mrs. King, Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who did a great job in supporting him. And by the way, I was working in terms of my civil rights activities on a panel discussion. I was participating, and one of the moderators of the panel discussion in New Orleans, and a few weeks ago, and a young man said to me, he said, "Sir, you didn't talk about Mrs. King. She was one of the reasons that Dr. King was successful." And I drew the parallel. I said, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I've been doing it for so many years. Right here in this office, right at 16 years, going on 17 years at the National Office, International Office of SCLC, because of my wife. You have to have a partnership and collaborate with many of people, not only your spouse, but you have to work with people throughout the world. We live in a global society. You just can't think about us forward no more. This is a global society that we're living in. Outside your family and friends, you have to have people in relationship all over the world with you. And that's why God made us in the global village. The global village is something that we must understand. You don't know where you, regardless of your age, you don't know where you or your siblings or your offsprings may end up in the global village, anywhere in the world, because it's God's country. It ain't yours. It's God's world. It ain't yours. It's God's home. It ain't yours. By the way, it's God's money. It's not yours. So God people are all over the place, all over this universe. And ladies and gentlemen, we must be very careful on how we treat one another. And as I close, we're still dealing with Sherwin Williams. This is the most difficult task of my entire career in civil rights, to deal with a country of the United States of America and the magnitude for what it stands for, and to have a company like Sherwin Williams in the country of the United States of America. And we're supposed to be about diversity, freedom, justice, and equality. Got a report just the other day. They're up to the 2nd floor now. And everyone that's working on this project, everyone are from the Caucasian race. Nobody from the minority or African American descent is working on this project from a visual point of view, not to mention at the top of decision making. In the construction business, Economically, that's why Dr. King told Harry Belafonte, Harry, I'm afraid I integrated my people into a burning house. He said, what are you talking about, Doc? He said, I forgot about the economics. We can check in, but we can't check out. You have to have money, resources. You're in a capitalistic society. That's what he said to Harry Belafonte. I've integrated my people into a burning house. In closing, economically, imperatively, and being in terms of a parity situation, we must understand that we must have diversity and fairness in economics. In the construction business, that is the most lucrative way of securing yourself financially as a business person where you can take care of your family. That's why they eliminate us from the contracts. That's why we're not in the partnership at the top. Somebody says, oh, I got a subcontract. You just made a mistake. You got a subcontract. We're talking about a real contract. And that's the part of the involuntary reparation. Treating us fairly with the contract. We got to have reparation in fairness and parity in the contract. Partnership at the top. Look at your community. All these buildings and businesses eradicating themselves and going to skyscrapers, 2, 3, 4, 5-story buildings, universities. You're talking about tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, and African American and people of color are not getting the contract. I just want to open your eyes to that. This is 2023. Our elected officials, starting with the President of the United States of America, all the way from Congress, state government, local government, you must demand parity within the contract. Then we can begin to talk about Dr. King and living the quality of life that he paid the supreme sacrifice for. That was his life. Have a great day, because love is what love does. And I love you, and let's stay prayed up. Godspeed.